This is the live podcast with Manuel, living in full expression. Most people believe that what holds them back is what happened to them. It is not. What holds them back is which version of what happened to them they have been unconsciously rehearsing. Every day, without realizing it, you are choosing which memories to feed and which one to starve. The ones you feed grow stronger, more vivid, more emotionally present until they feel like the truth about who you are and what you are capable of. The ones you starve, they fade until they barely have a pulse. And this episode is about, taking that process which has been running automatically and silently in the background and making it deliberate. Because the moment you choose which memory gets your attention, you take back control of your life that the memory has been quietly shaping. Welcome to the live podcast with me, your host Manuel. I want you to picture this. You're driving in a country where everything seems to be the opposite of what you are familiar with. The steering wheel is on the opposite side. The road is on the opposite side. Every instinct you have built over years of driving is suddenly walking in a different direction. And you're also preparing for a theory test, a test that will determine whether you are legally allowed to drive in this country at all. You approach a roundabout, you make a mistake, someone behind you hits their horn hard, and in that moment, your brain does exactly what it was built to do. It grabs that mistake, marks it, files it, and begin using it as an evidence. Evidence that you're not ready, evidence that you do not belong here, evidence that maybe you should not be sitting for that test at all. And this test is actually in few days' time. This story I just told you, this imagination that I asked you to carry out, was actually my story. And that's what happened to me. And what happened next on the same journey home changed something in me that I still feel today. A bus driver who had every right of way stopped his bus, looked at me and smiled and waited for me to emerge safely on the main road. No horn, no frustration, just a kind, quiet, deliberate act of human grace. And I made a decision. Every time the memory of the roundabout tried to dominate, every time that horn played in my head, I deliberately, consciously replaced it with the image of that bus driver's face, his smile, the warmth of that moment. And I went on to pass that theory test, first attempt. But here's the question I want to sit with you today. What if the difference between the person who passes their test and the person who fails it is not ability, but which memory they choose to rehearse on the drive home? And today, we're going to be talking about the most powerful thing you would do all week, choosing which thoughts gets to shape your reality. So if you're ready, let's get started. Here's what I want you to understand about your own story right now before we go any further. Every single person listening has both drivers in their recent history, the one who honked and the one who smiled, the rejection and the encouraging messages, the bar session and the client who told you that you changed their life, the failure and the quiet win nobody witnessed. Both of them exist. Both are completely real. Both happened to you. The question is never which one happened. The question is which one you have been rehearsing. Because here's the thing about memory that most people do not fully appreciate. The memory you return to most often does not just feel more real, it becomes real. Every time you replay it, you reinforces its emotional charge. Every time you replay it, you make it louder, more vivid, more present than everything sitting next to you. And over time, that repeated rehearsal starts to feel like truth, not just about that one incident, but about you, about your readiness, about what you are capable of. The horn on the roundabout was not just a horn. By the time I had replayed it a dozen times, it would have become a verdict. And I want you to think about it this way. Your mind is like a garden. Both the weed and the flowers grow there, and both are real. You do not have to pull out every weed. You do not have to pretend they are not there. You just have to stop watering them and start watering what you actually want to grow. What you water grows. What you starve fades. Not immediately, but over time, through repetition, through deliberate, consistent choices. And that is the principle of the heart of this episode. And it is not complicated, but it requires something most people are not doing. It requires you to be deliberate about it. Because by default, without that deliberate intention, the mind is not neutral. It is not treating the horn and the smile as equals. And understanding why that is what makes this episode more than just motivation. It is what makes it useful and powerful. Now, I want to do something with you right now that I do with every client when we begin this kind of work. I want to ask you some questions, not rhetorical ones. I mean real ones. Questions I want you to actually answer in your head, out loud, or in writing if you have a notebook nearby and it is safe for you to do so. We are going to do this in two parts. The first part is right now, and the second part will come later in this episode. For this to work, I need you to stay with me and pay close attention. Now, here's the first question. What is the memory you keep going back to? Not a vague feeling, I mean a specific moment, a specific incident, the thing that when it surfaces, it pulls energy from you. The one your brain returns to when things feel uncertain or hard. I want you to take a moment and I want you to name it clearly. If something just came up that you have not thought about in a while, that is exactly what you're looking for. That discomfort is not a sign to look away. It's a sign to look closer. Now, I want you to also answer this. What has this memory been telling you about yourself? This particular memory that brings energy that you feel so badly. What does it tell you about yourself? And I'm not saying what actually happened. I'm not asking for what happened. What story has it been writing about you? What verdict has repeated rehearsals turned it into? That you are not ready, or that you're not good enough, or that last time was a proof of something permanent. Whatever just surfaced, that is the home. That is what you are working with today. And I want you to hold to it now. We are not running from it. We are about to do something with it that changes everything. Now, here's the second question. And this one matters just as much as the first one. From same season, the same chapter, the same month, even the same day, what positive moment have you been largely ignoring? I don't mean a peak life moment for you, not a greatest achievement. I mean something small, real, a kind word, an unexpected piece of encouragement, a moment where something went right, that got crowded by the loud, more persistent horn. You have one already, because everyone does. I want you to take a moment to find it. It's already lost in the crowd of persistent horn. So be patient to find this. And this is your bus driver. That is the memory that has been sitting there, real and warm and completely available to you and largely forgotten. I want you to remember it, and we're going to need it in the second part of our session. Good. I want you to hold both of them. We are coming back to them shortly. But first, I need to tell you something important about why the horn wins without your deliberate intervention. Because understanding this is what stops you from feeling like a failure every time the negative memory surfaces. And it will surface. And that is not because you're weak, that is biology. All right. The reason the horn beats the smile without deliberate effort is not that you are a pessimist. No, not at all. It's not that you are weak or broken or somehow less capable than people who seem to shake things off easily. It is that your brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do, because the mind is wired to pay more attention to threats than to safety. When I made that mistake at the roundabout in my story that I told you, then with a theory test approaching, it registered in my nervous system as a threat to my confidence, a threat to my sense of readiness, a threat to my sense of belonging in this country. Threat gets more cognitive airtime. Threat gets more rehearsal, not because you are choosing it consciously, but because the system that protects you from danger is doing its job. On the other hand, the bus driver's smile, by contrast, felt like relief. And relief, as beautiful as it is, does not get the same automatic sustained attention unless you deliberately decide to give it that attention. Unless you step in and say, I see what my mind is doing, and I'm going to make a different choice. That is what I did on the drive home after the roundabout incident. Not once, not in a single moment of positive thinking. I did it every time the horn tried to walk through the front door. I met it with the image of that bus driver's face, again and again. Not suppression. I was not pretending the mistake didn't happen. I remembered it clearly. I still do. I was simply choosing deliberately and repeatedly not to give it the only seat at the table. And over time, not immediately anyway, but over time, the emotional charge of the mistake started to fade, not because the memory disappeared, but because it stopped being fed. Because what you feed will always grow, and what you starve will always fade. Now, the second part of this session, I'm going to take you through that, because knowing why the horn wins by default is useful. But what you actually need is a method for what to do about it. Something you can use this week. Something you can use today if you need it. Now, you name your horn. You name your bus driver. Now, here is exactly what to do with both of them. And this is the method. I'm going to give you 4 steps. Simple, specific, and replicable. This is what I did. And this is what you can do as well. All right, let's get started with it. Number 1, you need to name the horn moment clearly, not a vague feeling. The actual specific moment, the roundabout, that was for me. The conversation, the rejection, give it a name. Make it concrete. You cannot work with something fuzzy. So, like my story, it was at the roundabout. I recognized that and I named it. Number 2, what you want to do is to name the bus driver moment clearly. Now, look at one specific positive memory from the same season. Make it vivid. Increase the picture, increase the image in your mind. The more detail you can recall, the more powerful this step becomes for you. What did it look like? What did it feel like in your body? Where were you? The warmth of it needs to be accessible, not abstract. Then step number 3. Every time the horn moment surfaces, and of course it will, you need to deliberately play the bus driver moment instead. So you need to flip the switch and begin to play the bus driver moment for you. Not to suppress the negative memory because it's going to demand more energy from you. Not to pretend it did not happen. To replace what you are rehearsing. See the bus driver moment clearly. Feel it fully. Let the warmth of it sit in your body the way I let that smile sit in mine on the drive home. And number 4, you need to repeat until the emotion charge of the horn moment fades. It might not happen immediately. Through repetition, through consistent, deliberate choice, the memory does not disappear. It simply loses the charge that has been making it feel like a verdict. These simple 4 steps will help you to make the horn moment for you fade. So here's what I want to ask you now. The horn moment you named, which is the mistake, the rejection, the failure, what has it been telling you that you are not ready for? I want you to be honest. In my own case, it was telling me I was not ready for my theory test. So be honest in your chest, not just in your head, in your heart. What has repeated rehearsals of that memory convinced you that you cannot do, that you cannot have, that you cannot become? Now, what evidence in your own life that is real, specific, already existing, directly contradicts that verdict? And that, in my own story, was the smile from the bus driver. And this is not what you hope might happen or may be true. What is already true? The bus driver moment you named is one piece. What else is there? The more evidences you can get, the more silent the horn becomes. So get more evidence that contradicts that verdict from the horn. And finally, the question that connects both parts of this session. Which version of yourself do you want to bring to your test? Whatever the test is for you right now, the conversation, the lunch, the application, the relationship, you will show up. The question is, which version of yourself shows up with you? The one who has been rehearsing the horn or the one who has been feeding the smile? That version is a choice. It has always been a choice. This episode is simply making that choice visible for you and giving you a method to exercise it on purpose. Now, I passed my theory test first attempt. I want to be honest with you about something. I do not know with certainty that I would have failed it if I had spent the days before that test rehearsing the roundabout mistake instead. Maybe I would have passed anyway. Maybe I had enough knowledge, enough preparation, enough skill to get through regardless of which memory I was feeding. But here's what I know. I would have arrived at the test center depleted, contracted, operating from doubt rather than confidence. The external results might have been the same, but the person who walked into that room would have been fundamentally different. And the life we build is not just made of external results, it is made of which version of ourselves will bring to our most important moments. And that is what living in full expression means to me. Not the absence of mistakes, not the absence of horns, but refusing to let those horns be the only thing that gets rehearsed. Full expression is the version of you that knows the horns happen, has not pretended otherwise, and has deliberately, repeatedly chosen to feed the smile instead. Your bus driver moment exists. It is sitting somewhere in your recent history. Warm, real, forgotten, stabbed. And this episode is your permission and your method to go find it and feed it. And I mean today, not tomorrow. And here are 3 things to take out of this episode today. Number 1, the memory you rehearse most often does not just feel most real, it becomes most real. What you feed grows, what you starve fades. The process has been running automatically, and this episode starts making it deliberate. Number 2, Your bus driver moment exists. It is real. It happened. It has been starved of the attention that will let it grow. What you need to do today is to name it, make it vivid, and give it airtime. And lastly, the superimposition method is not positive thinking. It is deliberate attention regulation. Every time the horn surfaces, you replace it with a smile. Not once, but until the emotional charge fades. This might take some time, but it requires repetition, and you need to start today. If you want to go deeper with this work, there's a premium worksheet available for this episode, the Stop Feeding the Wrong Memory Workbook, which takes you through the full superimposition method in writing, including space to name your horn, build your bus driver memory in vivid detail, and track the emotional charge over time as it fades. You can get the link in the show notes. And if this episode landed for you, share with one person who is currently feeding the wrong memory and does not know it yet. You know someone. That share might be their bus driver moment today. This has been the live podcast with me, your host, Manuel. And until I come your way in our next episode, keep living in full expression.